When Regular Show debuted in 2010, it was easy to see it as a simple cartoon about two slackers, Mordecai and Rigby, navigating a surreal world filled with absurdity and chaos. But beneath its offbeat humor and wild antics, the show resonated on a much deeper level, especially with its older audience. At its core, Regular Show captured the struggles of adulthood, responsibility, relationships, and, as I am going to argue in this video, burnout, and the delicate balance between work and personal life. What makes Regular Show so special is that it was designed to speak to multiple audiences. The creators, led by Jay Quintal, wanted to make a show that reflected the transition from carefree youth to the heavier burdens of adulthood. He drew inspiration from his own experiences working mundane jobs and navigating the transition from adolescence to adulthood. This personal touch gives Regular Show its warmth and authenticity. Mordecai and Rigby's antics represent youthful recklessness, while Benson's character arc powerfully illustrates the harsh realities of adult responsibilities and workplace pressure.
Now we're never gonna make it to the dealership in time. It closes in 30 minutes.
We're sorry. We didn't know it was daytime. There aren't any windows in the arcade.
Excuses, excuses. How am I supposed to trust you when all you give me are excuses? When are you two gonna learn that your actions have consequences? Consequences that affect other people, like me. Don't you two understand? I'm about to lose my job. You may not care about keeping your jobs, but I care about keeping mine. Because if I lose my job, I have nothing. Do you hear me? I have nothing!
His struggles with perfectionism, emotional exhaustion, and work-life imbalance mirror real-world challenges faced by many professionals. This duality between the show's whimsical surface and what we could argue, its deeper exploration of adult burnout makes it uniquely relatable across generations. Through Benson's experiences, the show offers valuable insights into recognizing, understanding, and addressing workplace burnout in our own lives. In this show, burnout is embodied by Benson, the park's manager. Though he starts as the typical grumpy boss, Benson develops into a compelling example of what happens when leadership and responsibility spiral out of control. Through his constant stress, emotional outbursts, empty personal life, and destructive coping mechanisms, he perfectly captures the alto-familiar experience of burnout. Benson manages the park, balancing the unreasonable demands of his boss, Mr. Maillard, with the constant chaos caused by his employees, Mordecai and Rigby. As a middle manager, he struggles to enforce rules, meet deadlines, and keep operations running smoothly while striving for Mr. Maillard's approval. Mordecai and Rigby embody the carefree spirit of youth, often ignoring Benson's orders and leaving him to handle the fallout. Their behavior serves as a frustrating reminder of the freedom Benson once enjoyed, but has since sacrificed for his role.
Somebody's finally recognizing my hard work. But Gene, you don't get it. I've made sacrifices. Stick hockey, drumming. This is all I have left. Park managing is my life. You guys want to make me look like a jerk in front of my colleagues.
Caught between his boss's expectations and his employees' irresponsibility, Benson is overworked and underappreciated. His story highlights the challenges of leadership, the difficulty of balancing competing pressures, and the toll it takes on one's mental health and sense of self-worth. This makes Benson the perfect archetype of middle management, someone who bears full accountability but lacks the authority to make meaningful changes. Like many middle managers, Benson is overburdened and underappreciated, constantly cleaning up others' messes while watching his own well-being deteriorate into stress and eventual burnout. His situation demonstrates several key factors. Overwhelming workload. Beyond just cleaning up messes, Benson faces constant emergencies, supernatural threats, and administrative duties that pile up endlessly. This chronic state of being overworked prevents any meaningful recovery time. Professional isolation. Despite managing a team, Benson experiences profound loneliness. His position as authority figure creates an emotional barrier, while his perfectionism makes it difficult to delegate or ask for help. Perfectionism and control. Benson's need for order in a chaotic workplace leads to constant frustration. His perfectionist tendencies manifest in micromanaging team members, taking personal responsibility for every park incident, setting unrealistic standards for both himself and others. Emotional exhaustion. The combination of these factors results in frequent emotional outbursts, showing how chronic stress can erode even the most professional demeanor. Loss of work-life balance. His dedication to the park comes at the cost of personal relationships and hobbies, creating a cycle where work becomes his only identity. Burnout is not just about being tired, it's about feeling trapped in a cycle of unrelenting stress, where even minor challenges feel insurmountable. Benson embodies this experience perfectly, making him a surprisingly nuanced character in a comedic show. Emotional outbursts and chronic irritability. Benson is perhaps best known for his yelling. His emotional outbursts, often directed at Mordecai and Rigby, are a hallmark of his character. While these moments are played for laughs, they're also a classic sign of burnout. In real life, burnout often manifests as irritability and frustration. When stress piles up, even small annoyances can feel overwhelming, leading to disproportionate reactions, and what I personally call burnout rage, that feeling of intense frustration and anger that often spills into harmful behavior such as yelling, destruction of objects lying within reach, and sometimes even self-harm as a result of the anger outbursts. For Benson, yelling becomes his default way of releasing pent-up frustration, though it does little to solve the underlying issues.
You!
Whoa, hey Benson.
So we're cool, right?
You idiots! That's the last time I entrust you with something important, like the chairs!
Neglected personal life. In one of the show's most vulnerable moments, Benson admits,
Because if I lose my job, I have nothing. Do you hear me? I have nothing.
This simple yet heartbreaking confession reveals the depth of his burnout. It's not just about being tired or frustrated, it's about the erosion of his identity outside of work. Benson has poured so much of himself into his role as park manager that he's neglected every other aspect of his life. He's given up hobbies, meaningful relationships, and self-care in his pursuit of perfection and responsibility. This line is one of the most humanizing moments in regular show, showing viewers the emotional toll of overinvesting in work. Benson's sense of self has become so intertwined with his job that, without it, he feels empty and directionless. This level of imbalance not only leaves him unfulfilled but also exacerbates his stress, creating a vicious cycle where work becomes both his identity and his source of frustration. This experience is all too common for people facing burnout, especially those in leadership or high-responsibility roles. When your sense of self-worth is tied entirely to your productivity or professional success, it becomes nearly impossible to step away. Even small mistakes or setbacks at work feel like personal failures, further deepening feelings of inadequacy and exhaustion. Benson's admission highlights a harsh reality. When work takes over your life, the things that make life meaningful, connection, creativity, and joy, begin to fade away. This loss of balance doesn't just make burnout worse, it makes recovery feel impossible because there's no personal foundation to fall back on. Unhealthy coping mechanisms, the hot wings problem. Benson's moderation problem with hot wings is one of regular show's most humorous yet telling quirks. When Benson indulges in hot wings, he undergoes a drastic transformation. His usual tightly wound, rule-following persona is replaced by a carefree, reckless version of himself. For a character so defined by control and responsibility, these moments of indulgence offer him a rare chance to let loose.
Here's to the best crew I've ever worked with! And you know what? I'm just gonna say it. Maylard is a jerk!
But Benson's inability to stop himself, even to the point of overdosing on wings, points to a deeper issue. It's not just about enjoying a spicy snack, it's about using indulgence as an escape from the pressures of his daily life. Hot wings become a symbol of his burnout, a quick and easy way to temporarily distance himself from the stress of managing the park and dealing with Mordecai and Rigby's constant antics. In real life, burnout often drives people to rely on unhealthy coping mechanisms to deal with their stress. These behaviors, whether it's emotional eating, excessive drinking, binge-watching TV, or even overspending, provide temporary relief but don't address the root causes of the problem. Instead, they can create a cycle of dependence. Stress relief. The indulgence offers a brief escape, making you feel better in the moment. Guilt or regret. Overindulgence often leads to negative emotions, like guilt or shame, further adding to your stress. Reinforcement. To cope with the guilt or the return of stress, you turn back to the indulgence, perpetuating the cycle. For Benson, his hot wing binges represent this cycle perfectly. The more stressed he becomes, the harder it is for him to moderate his consumption. The wings provide a fleeting sense of freedom, but the consequences, whether it's losing control, embarrassing himself, or feeling physically ill, only exacerbate his burnout in the long run. Benson's story in Regular Show is a perfect case study for recognizing burnout. His character demonstrates how stress, when left unchecked, can creep into every aspect of life. The following signs, as seen in Benson, are also common markers of burnout in real life. Emotional exhaustion. Benson's frequent irritability and explosive outbursts are clear indicators of burnout. These moments aren't just about frustration, they reflect a deep sense of being overwhelmed and mentally drained, where even small triggers can provoke an intense reaction.
Whoa, Benson, are you What the?
What happened?
I don't know! Benson saw us crash the cart and instead of laying into us, he said he wasn't gonna yell!
And then he turned into that!
Detachment from others. Despite being surrounded by coworkers, Benson often isolates himself emotionally. His interactions are largely transactional, and he rarely opens up or forms meaningful connections. This detachment is a hallmark of burnout, where stress causes people to pull away from their support systems. Reduced performance. While Benson strives to maintain the park, his effectiveness as a leader is often compromised. His inability to trust his team or delegate effectively leads to micromanagement and exhaustion, reducing his overall performance. Indulgence problems. Benson's inability to moderate his hot wing consumption is both comedic and symbolic. His overindulgence serves as an unhealthy coping mechanism, highlighting how burnout often drives people to seek temporary relief in habits that can create further problems. Neglect of personal life. Benson's confession, "Besides work, I have nothing," encapsulates one of the most devastating aspects of burnout. When work consumes your identity, personal hobbies, relationships, and self-care fall by the wayside, leaving you unfulfilled and vulnerable. Why recognition matters. Burnout often sneaks up on people. By recognizing these signs early, whether in yourself or others, you can take proactive steps to address the root causes before they spiral out of control. How to address the root causes of burnout. Burnout isn't just about managing its symptoms, it requires addressing the root causes that create the cycle of stress, exhaustion, and dissatisfaction. Benson's struggles in Regular Show provide a clear illustration of how workplace pressures, emotional isolation, and perfectionism can drive burnout. Tackling these underlying issues can lead to meaningful change. 1. Set boundaries. One of the main contributors to Benson's burnout is his inability to separate work from his personal life. As the park manager, Benson is always on duty, whether he's dealing with emergencies or managing the constant chaos caused by Mordecai and Rigby. This lack of boundaries erodes his personal time, leaving him no opportunity to recharge or pursue interests outside of work. His constant availability becomes a trap, where work consumes his identity entirely. Why it's important. Establishing boundaries is essential for creating space to rest and recover. Without clear lines between work and personal life, the mental and physical toll of constant stress can lead to emotional exhaustion and a diminished sense of self. Actionable step. Schedule dedicated time for yourself to engage in hobbies, nurture relationships, and relax. Treat this time as non-negotiable. 2. Build a support system. Benson's burnout is exacerbated by his isolation. Despite being surrounded by coworkers, he struggles to connect with them on a personal level. His role as an authority figure creates emotional distance, and his perfectionism makes it difficult for him to ask for help. This isolation compounds his stress, as he feels solely responsible for managing every aspect of the park. Why it's important. Burnout thrives in isolation. A strong support system can provide perspective, reduce feelings of loneliness, and offer encouragement during challenging times. Emotional connections also foster collaboration and reduce the burden of handling everything alone. Actionable step: foster relationships by reaching out to coworkers, friends, or family members. Even small gestures like sharing a coffee break or having a heartfelt conversation can make a significant difference. 3. Practice moderation and healthy coping mechanisms. Benson's hot wing binges symbolize how burnout often drives people to unhealthy coping mechanisms. Whether it's overeating, excessive drinking, or mindlessly scrolling through social media, these habits provide temporary relief but fail to address the root causes of stress. Instead, they create a cycle of dependency that worsens burnout over time. Why it's important: healthy coping mechanisms not only relieve stress but also build resilience and contribute to long-term well-being. Choosing constructive outlets helps break the cycle of overindulgence and guilt. Actionable step: replace unhealthy habits with positive activities that promote balance and mental clarity. Meditation or mindfulness: these practices help center your thoughts and manage stress effectively. Creative outlets: hobbies like painting, music, or writing allow you to channel stress into something fulfilling and productive. 4. Reframe your perspective on work. Benson's perfectionism often leads him to take failures personally. Whether it's Mordecai and Rigby's antics or minor mishaps at the park, he internalizes every issue as a reflection of his own shortcomings. This mindset not only amplifies his stress but also blinds him to the progress and successes he achieves. Why it's important: shifting from a perfectionist mindset to one focused on progress and growth can significantly reduce stress. No one is perfect, and learning to celebrate small wins helps foster resilience and satisfaction. Actionable step: at the end of each day, write down one accomplishment, no matter how small. This practice reinforces a sense of achievement and helps you shift your focus from what went wrong to what went right. Over the course of regular show, Benson evolves from a stressed-out micromanager to a more balanced and effective leader. This transformation is not immediate; it comes through hard-earned lessons and personal growth. Delegation and trust. Benson gradually shifts from micromanaging to trusting his team, particularly Mordecai and Rigby. By giving them more responsibility, he empowers them to take ownership of their work, which reduces his own stress and fosters a sense of accountability among his employees.
I just can't trust you. Give it to me straight. Do we have a chance of getting out of here?
Yeah, there's a chance. But the only way it's gonna work is if you trust us.
I don't have much of a choice, do I?
Setting boundaries. Through his journey, Benson learns the value of balancing work with personal fulfillment. Episodes that highlight his hobbies, like drumming or dating, show him reconnecting with his identity beyond his managerial role. Embracing camaraderie. Benson's transition from an enforcer to a team player strengthens his relationships with the park crew. By participating in team-building moments and fostering a sense of camaraderie, he earns their loyalty and support, creating a more collaborative and less stressful work environment. By letting go of perfectionism and focusing on teamwork and personal balance, Benson escapes the burnout that once defined him. He becomes a leader who not only achieves his goals but also finds joy and fulfillment along the way, offering a powerful example of how personal growth can lead to professional success. Quintel and the creators of Regular Show used Benson's character to explore the challenges of adulthood, leadership, and burnout. While younger viewers were drawn to the show's humor and absurdity, older audiences resonated with its portrayal of real-life struggles. Benson's character serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of burnout, but also as a reminder that it's possible to find balance and reclaim one's well-being. Through Benson, the show encourages viewers to laugh at life's absurdities while also taking a hard look at their own habits and priorities. His journey is a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the importance of self-compassion. Burnout isn't a sign of failure; it's a signal that something in our lives needs to change. And change is possible. As we watch Benson navigate the chaos of the park, we're reminded that we're not alone in our struggles. Burnout is a shared experience, and by acknowledging it, we can begin to heal. Regular Show doesn't just entertain; it invites us to reflect, to grow, and to find comfort in knowing that we're all simply doing our best. Takeaways from Benson's journey. Through Benson, Regular Show delivers powerful lessons for anyone dealing with burnout. Recognize burnout's early warning signs, particularly emotional exhaustion and neglect of personal life. Establish clear boundaries to safeguard your time and energy. Create a strong support system to combat isolation and encourage teamwork. Switch unhealthy coping mechanisms for practices that enhance well-being. Shift your work mindset from perfectionism to celebrating progress. Benson's growth reminds us that burnout isn't permanent. Through self-reflection, meaningful connections, and realigned priorities, we can overcome challenges, restore balance, and rediscover what brings us joy.